what's up, Facebook friends and family? How are you doing on this happy Saturday? January 2nd. Woo! I am reading. If you don't, well, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Melissa Osborn, coming from Marathon, New York. I'm a network marketer. I help people build their business and get out of their comfort zone. And if you want to join the chat or be able to, so I can see, please click on the Facebook or StreamYard/Facebook so I can see your comments. And if you're watching live, please put live. If you're watching replay, please put replay. And if you ever want to join me in reading, please let me know and we can schedule an appointment. And I'd love to have you on live with me and we can read a book that you want to read or a topic that you'd like to discuss. So, and this topic or this chapter is Find Your Frequency, which is it's pretty long. So I'm only going to read till 73, page 73. Okay. Spring 1988. My senior year in high school, I was rolling. I had straight A's, a job that kept $45 in my back pocket at all times. 4 handicap in golf. I'd won most handsome in my class and was dating the best looking girl at my school. And at the school across town, yeah, I was catching green lights. Hi, Kimberly. How you doing? Never the too cool for school guy who leans against the wall and smokes a cigarette at the party. No. I was the guy who danced at the party, the guy who chased the girls and worked his way to the front row of every concert, no matter how late I arrived. I gave effort. I was a hustler. I drove a truck. I took the girls off-road, mudding. Oh, wow. After school in that truck, I had a megaphone in the front grill and in the school parking lot in the mornings. I'd crouch down in the cab and say through the speaker, "Look at the jeans Kathy Cook's got on today. Looking good." Everyone loved it. Everyone laughed, especially Kathy Cook. I was that guy. I was the fun guy. I engaged. 4-wheel driving through the soggy bottom creeks of East Texas. One day I was driving past our local Nissan dealership and I saw a candy red 300ZX for sale. I never had a sports car before, and this one even had T-tops. I pulled my truck onto the lot of Inquire. The dealer was motivated to sell on the spot. I traded my truck in for that candy red 300ZX with T-tops. I had a red sports car. Every Sunday afternoon, I polished and waxed the red sports car. It was my baby at school. I started parking in the third parking lot, that empty lot way in the back where no other car doors could dent or scratch my new baby's paint. I knew the chicks were going to dig my red sports car even more than my truck, and hence dig me more. I'd arrive early to school every morning, park in the third parking lot, and just lean against it. I was so cool. My red sports car was so cool. A few weeks passed and I started noticing some changes. The chicks, they weren't digging me like they used to. It was like they were bored with me leaning against my red sports car. After school, they went mudding off-road in someone else's truck instead of cruising the streets T-top down with me. And here's the picture. Here's a picture of, I can't, ugh. There's the car. It's black and white. I wasn't getting near as many dates as I used to. The girls seemed to lose interest in me. What happened, I wondered. Then one day it hit me. I lost my truck. I lost the effort, the hustle, the mudding, and the megaphone. I lost my fun. The fun. I was too busy leaning against the candy red 300ZX with T-tops. In the third parking lot, I'd gotten lazy, started looking in the mirror at my hair too often, relying on the red spots car to do the work for me. and it was doing a shitty job. I'd outfox myself when I traded in my truck for that red sports car, and I lost my mojo when I did. The next day after school, I went back to the Nissan dealer and traded it back in for my truck. The day after, I pulled into the first parking lot again, flirted with the ladies from the megaphone, and took them off-roading Monday after school. And like clockwork, I was back. Fucking red sports car. Green light. Greenlights. Possessed of elimination and identity. The first step that leads to our identity in life is usually not I know who I am, but rather I know who I am not. Process of elimination. Too many options can make a tyrant out of any of us. So we should get rid of the excess in our lives that keep us from being more of ourselves. When we decrease the option that don't feed us, we eventually almost accidentally have more options in front of us that do. Knowing who we are is hard. Eliminating who we are not first, and who will find ourselves where we need to be. On my 18th birthday, my parents said to me, if you haven't learned it yet, you aren't going to. In my family, the 18th birthday was a seminal moment. It meant no more rules. It meant no more curfew. It meant independence. It meant freedom. I graduated from high school and I lost most kids. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I thought I wanted to go to law school and become a defense attorney, but I wasn't absolutely certain. My mom came up with this racial ideal. Hey, you love to travel, Matthew. What if you become an exchange student? Immediately, I was up for it. Sounds adventurous and wild. I'm in. We went to the local Rotary Club that ran the exchange program and learned that they had 2 openings for a foreign exchange, one to Sweden and one to Australia. Sun, beaches, surfing. Ali Mackie person, I can't even pronounce her name, English speaker, one chose Australia. Next thing I knew, I was sitting at a bath or boardroom table in front of 12 suits at the local Rotary Club. After they proved my background papers, a man said, we think you'd be a great ambassador of the state of Texas and the United States in the faraway land of Australia. We'd love for you to go, but before you do, we need you to sign this paper saying you'll not come back until your full year of this exchange is over. That seemed odd, but I'm going the whole year. That's the plan. Everyone says that, he retorted. But the reason we need you to sign this contract is because every exchange student gets severely homesick and tries to come home early. We can't have that happen, which is why we need you to sign this document stating that I, Matthew McConaughey, promise to come home early, or promise not to come home early unless there is a tragedy or a death in the family. Look, I said, I'm not signing that paper, but I'll shake on it. I'm not going to quit and come home. I'm in for the entire year. I looked him in the eye. Deal. He agreed. We shook, and soon I packed up to go to Australia for a full year. I'd leave in 10 days. A few days later, I got my first letter from Australia host family, the Dooleys. It read, we can't wait to meet you and are so looking forward to having you in our home, Matthew. We live in paradise near the beach on the outskirts of Sydney. You are going to love it. Yes, outstanding. Everything I was hoping for. The beach, Sydney? This was going to be a blast. Australia, here I come. And then it's got a little picture of him. I'm good. How are you? I'm good, honey. You said how ate you? Oh, okay. I arrived at the Sydney International Airport terminal, duffel bag over my shoulder. I was walking down a long ramp toward a huge room with thousands of people waiting their arrival when I heard through the sea of people chatting and greeting their guests. Matthew, Matthew, Matthew. My eyes went to the sound. I saw a hand popping up and down above all other heads and moving toward the end of the ramp. Matthew, Matthew, Matthew. As I reached the floor level, the owner of the bouncing hand, who was yelling my name, was there to greet me. With an eager smile, he lowered that hand and I shook it. Meet Norvell Dooley, 5'4", 220 pounds, mustache, balding head, and a bit of an English accent. I would later come to find out was an affectionate. He used to appear more proper. Ah, there he is. Look at him, strong, handsome American boy. Welcome to Australia, son. You are gonna love it. He introduced me to his wife, Marjorie, wearing a white upholstery dress with big green polka dots. She was 4'10" and using a walker because of a KYPHOTIC spinal deformity, which back then we'd have called a hunchback. I leaned down and gave her a big hug and a kiss, and she reached up and held my face in her hands, then warmly said, "Welcome to Australia, Matthew. Welcome to your new family. Meet my son, Michael." His shirt bottomed down and tucked in with a pocket protector. Michael wore a key ring around his right belt loop that held 50 keys, 48 of which I would later find out were unnecessary, but like his father's accent, healthy for his ego. As I reached out to shake his hand, he sidestepped it in favor of a heavy embrace before he stepped back and began giving me extremely firm, stiff arm slaps to the middle of my back, singing, my little brother, meet the Dooleys." We loaded into the car and left the airport. I was riding shotgun. Norville was driving. Marjorie and Michael were in the back seat. After about an hour, I noticed the skyline of the metropolitan city of Sydney was well behind us in the rearview mirror. Even the outskirts seemed out of sight. I asked Norville, "So, technically it's not Sydney that you live in, right?" "No, mate," he probably replied. "That's a big city. Sin going on over there, mate. You don't want to be living there. It's no place for civilized men. We actually live in a little place down the road here called Gosford on the Central Coast. Great spot. Beautiful beaches. You're gonna love it." We continued our small talk and drove another 40 minutes. When we made it to Gosford, its population looked to be a couple 100,000. It was on the coast with miles of beaches, a pretty happening place. "This is going to work. Beautiful," I said aloud. They said nothing. We continued driving through downtown another 15 to 20 minutes when I noticed Gosford was now in the rearview mirror. "Odd," I once again respectfully asked. "So it's not actually Gosford that you live in, is it?" To which Norvell once again protested with pride, "Oh no, still a bit too cityfied, mate. Lose morals. Country living's a lot better than that place. We actually live just down the road, here, a bit in a place called Taukelee. You are gonna love it." We drove another 40 minutes, then got to the town of Taukelee. Population 5,000. It had one red light, one bar, one small supermarket, but it was still on the coast. A very pretty place. "Okay," I said aloud. "Small town living. Reminds me of where I was born. I can dig it." They had no comment. Norvell continued driving. We drove 6 or 7 more miles and came to the roundabout on the other side of town. Now, quite confused, I asked, "So it's not really Tokely that you live in either?" Without hesitation and with just as much determination, Norville replied, "Nah, Turkley's a nice spot, mate, but a bit big for our taste. We actually live in a little gap down the road here a bit. Matthew, beautiful little spot called Gorkin. You are gonna love it." The pavement turned to blacktop. A few minutes later, we then came upon Gorkin, population 1,800. Holy cow. A sleepy inland, one-street country town. No beach in sight. A couple of small, one-story wooden houses to the right and left of Main Street. I took a semi-deep breath, and before I knew it, we were going through another roundabout on the other side of town. Man, I would have been pissed by the time. The blacktop turned into dirt road, and Gorgon, or how you pronounce it, was in the rearview mirror. Now a bit peeved, I stated more than I asked. So you don't live in Gorkin either, do you? No, Norvell grunted with excitement. But we are very close, mate. Just down the trail, here is spelled. Beautiful little country spot, mate. You're going to love it. We drove down that dusty trail about 5 miles. I was staring out of the window at the countryside, trying to recalibrate my expectations when a green road sign intercepts my view. It read Warnervale, population 305. With no civilization in view, we drove another mile past that sign and took the first left turn we could, then the first right, then pulled into a gravel driveway up to the garage door of the only house in sight, came to a spot and turned off the ignition when Norville said with great fanfare, "Welcome to Australia, Matthew. You're going to love it." Yeah. I was washing after dinner dishes when Norville and Marjorie entered the kitchen. "Matthew, we'd like to have our extended family over this weekend, and we thought you could cook us something, maybe something quintessentially American." "I'd love to," I said, "but what to cook, I wonder?" Nothing more American than a hamburger. That's it. We're having good old American hamburgers this weekend." "Top choice, Matthew," Norvell said as they turned to leave. "Actually, no." I raised my voice. "I take that back. We are having cheeseburger. 'Cause the man who invented the hamburger was smart, but the man who invented the cheeseburger was a genius." I started writing down a grocery list for my culinary masterpiece. Soft white buns, dill pickles, sliced cheddar, and American cheese, red onions, avocado, jalapenos, real mayonnaise, good ketchup. When I felt a tap on my shoulder, it was Norvell. "Matthew, would you come with me, please? I'd like to talk to you for a second." We exited the kitchen, walked across the living room and down a hallway, where he opened the second door on the right. "This way, please," he said as he ushered me into the room. It was his office. He then shut the door behind us and pointed to the seat in front of the desk. I sat down. He then went behind the desk and stepped up onto a platform where his chair was perched, then sat in it. Oddly, Norvell, who was 5'4", was now sitting about 1.5 feet higher than I was. He settled in and leaned forward, placing his elbows on the desk. He crossed his hands, knuckle for knuckle, looked me in the eye, and sternly said, "Matthew, I'd like to talk to you about your choice of words." "Yes, sir," I said. "What do you got?" Chin on those knuckles, he turned his eyes to a portrait of Winston Churchill on the wall, took a composing inhale, and said, "You said that the man who invented the hamburger was smart, but the man who invented the cheeseburger was a genius, did you not?" Oh my gosh. Are you telling me these people are giving him a lecture because he talked about cheeseburger? "Yes, sir, I did say that." He took another aristocratic breath. "Matthew, that is merely your opinion. And in your time here with us, you will learn to appreciate fine wines, fine cheeses, and not to voice your opinion for the masses." Oh my God. I would have been out. "Norvell, it's a figure of speech," I said. "It just basically means I like cheeseburgers more than hamburgers." He chided as he waved his finger at me. "As I said, for the duration of your stay in Australia with us here in the Dooley household, you will learn to appreciate fine wines, fine cheeses, and not to voice your opinion for the masses." He said. He was dead serious. Other than duly thinking that more than a couple of hours away was still the outskirt of Sydney, this nonsensical lecture was the first odd thing that happened to me in Australia. I was puzzled, but I chalked it up to cultural differences. Day 8. I started school. I had already graduated in America, but this school decided to enroll me with a junior class since I had arrived midterm. The thinking was I could go into my senior term next year with the same group of kids. 2 weeks into the curriculum, the year and a half old symbol seemed like a breeze to me. Math was so easy it was boring, but I was enjoying my creative writing in the English classes. The teachers, on the other hand, were not. They red penned, marked up everything I wrote, and gave me F minuses across the board because of my use of contractions, or euphorisms, made up words, and occasionally profanity. Look, I know how to write. I passed those tests. I am deliberately writing how I am. I'm being creative, expressing myself, I said. Their response, F minus. Socially, the school was awkward as well. Everyone wore uniforms and played tag at lunch. No one had a driver's license. No one wanted to party, and the chicks were not digging me. I felt like I was back in junior high. I started missing my truck, my friends, those girlfriends, my freedom, Texas. But I told myself everything was fine, all part of the adventure, cultural differences. Soon started skipping class daily and going to the library instead, where I discovered the great English poet Lord Byron. I had 3 cassettes, Inks, INKS, Kick, Press, Maxi Priest, and U2 Rattle and Hum. I listened to them on my Walkman while I read about romance. 2 weeks later, the principal came to me in the library. Matthew, he said, doesn't seem like the school thing is working out for you, mate. I was thinking that maybe you could transfer into our work experience program where you would practice a trade off campus. You wouldn't get paid, but you would get school credit. Fuck yes, I'm in, I said. He's got away with words, too. My first job was a bank teller at the Australia and New Zealand Bank. Being around adults was refreshing. I became friends with the manager of the bank, Connor Harrington. We enjoyed lunches and a few pins together after work. Back home with the Dooleys, peculiar things were still happening. Per usual, we ate an early dinner, 5 to 5:30 p.m. at the Dooleys household. It was always me, Noble, Marjorie, Michael, and Michael's girlfriend, Meredith, at the dinner table. In the kitchen, Meredith was 22 years old and had a slight development disability that didn't allow her to drive motor vehicles. She also had a habit of 5 fingers squeezing the white head pimples that were sometimes on her cheeks. That when she got nervous, I liked Meredith. We got along well, and she had a great sense of humor. Still one of all my time favorites. I'm almost done, guys. While at the dinner table one late afternoon, I had a Summer Olympics on the television just in view from the living room. The U.S. was about to race in the finals of the women 4x100-meter relay. I seemed to be the only one interested. Bang! The starting gun went off. In less than 42 seconds later, the U.S. woman had won gold. I clenched my fist, in pride and patriotism, and let out a muttered yes, mostly to myself. Norval eventually saw this as an ideal moment for his history lesson. He leapt from his chair and scampered into the living room where he shut off the TV mid post-race celebration and then marched back to the kitchen. Standing over me, he said, Matthew, would you come with me, please? Oh, my God. I'd like to talk to you for a second. Uh-oh. He escorted me out to the kitchen, across the living room, and down the hallway to the second door on the right. Yes, back to his office, where this time he grabbed an encyclopedia off his bookshelf, sat upon his high chair, and glanced at Winston on the wall, opened the encyclopedia to the dogger page, and began to lecture me. A real athlete, Matthew. A great athlete was this young champ from Great Britain named David Broome, who, in the 1960 Summer Olympics, won a bronze medal in the equestrian event on the show jumping. Okay, that's cool, Norvell, I said. Another thing, Matthew, that silly movie Stripes you were watching the other night, it's brainless and immature. It is a further example of inferior of American humor to that of the English. Wow. Okay, mind if I don't go finish watching the Olympics? I was starting to feel pretty uncomfortable at the Dooleys. But hey, I told myself again, it's just cultural differences. Day 90. Now, getting my work experience as barrister's assistant, I was enjoying my days in court, helping write closing arguments, studying the jury, researching law history, and taking notes for the jurist. I was assisting. It was also great preparation for my future plans to become a lawyer. Still, back at Dooley's, the cultural difference were starting to get to me. My identity shaken, I needed some resistance to find my footing, something to overcome, a discipline to adhere to, a sense of purpose, so I could better maintain my sanity. In the strange place I was in, I was decided to become a vegetarian. The problem was I didn't know how to be a vegetarian, so I began eating a head of iceberg lettuce with ketchup on it for dinner every night. Oh, I gotta drink my water. And my phone is. Thank you for whoever's watching. Sorry, guys, it's taking so long. But I'm getting into the book, so. Okay. Where did I start? Okay. My identity shaken. Also, okay. I also began running 6 miles a day after work. I got very thin. I also decided to become abstinent for the rest of the year, which still had 9 months in it. I started to believe that my life's calling was to become a monk. I made plans to go to South Africa after my year exchange and free Nelson Mandela. I wrote letters to my mom and dad and old friends. My very first letter, which I wrote my first week at the Dooleys, was scrawled in a big black Sharpie. Hey, throwing some shrimp on the Barbie. Love you, Matthew. But now my letters were becoming 9, 10, 11, 12, 16 pages long with meticulous handwriting and 8-line run-on sentences full of too many objectives and adverbs. Other than my mom, my childhood friend Robbie Bindler was the only one who would write me back. A writer himself, he accepted my manic filibusters on the page and returned them with equal length but less derangement. Mostly, though, I wrote to myself, but I was fine, right? Just a little homesick. Cultural differences. I got this. So, I thank you guys for joining, anybody, and welcome new viewers. And I will finish. It's a long chapter. Yeah, this is a long chapter. It goes to, let me see, so you guys have a better understanding how long this chapter is, and that is just part 2. It goes to 87. So have a awesome Saturday. Have a good one. Love y'all. See you on the next live. Toodaloo. Okay, now let me see.